The Roman Empire was vast and teeming with people of all social classes. Some afforded personal chefs and ate frequently fresh and deliciously homemade food. Others had to find something enjoyable outside. Over the years, archaeologists have excavated more than 150 thermopolia, an ancient version of McDonald's which sold ready-to-eat food and were popular among the working classes and those who could not afford a private kitchen. So we decided to take a look and examine what was the ancient version of Big Mac. Now grab your shaken fries and let's dive in. Throughout the Roman Empire, there had been small restaurants designed for one purpose only: to serve affordable hot takeaway food to the Roman society. Fast food has existed since ancient times, where restaurants sold fish sauce and baked cheese. Therefore, fast food as a concept isn't some new invention by the modern age, although many today believe that the concept of snack bars, semi-finished product, and fast food in general is a result of modern living conditions. It's been around for centuries, albeit in different forms. Historical data shows that such analogues of the fast food industry were common in ancient Rome and Greece. Especially in ancient Rome, the larger percentage of the population was poor and could not afford expensive food from the taberna or products to cook. Ancient Roman fast food joints were called thermopolium. The word translates to places where hot drinks are sold. These restaurants had a bad reputation, but they provided fast and cheap warm meals to the poor of ancient Rome. Pompeii was engulfed by a volcanic eruption from Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. The eruption buried Pompeii in a thick layer of ash, preserving the city and the outlines of many of its residents in time and making it a rich source for archaeologists. A fast food shop from Pompeii was discovered in 2019 in an extremely well-preserved condition. The food counter, known as Thermopolium, would have served hot food and drinks to locals in the city. The paintings found at the site are believed to show some of the food that was on offer for customers, including chicken and duck. Traces of pork, fish, beef, and snails were also discovered in jars and other containers. Archaeological excavations show that the thermopoliums were relatively small rooms with large countertops. In some of them there were tables where those who wished could sit down to eat, but in general the main purpose of these restaurants was to sell food for home. Historians specializing in the study of the eating habits and way of life of the ancient Romans are convinced that the Romans, as well as modern people, did not have enough time, but mostly financially could not afford to prepare their own food at home. That is why the poorer inhabitants of Pompeii relied on bakeries for bakery products and thermopoliums for fast food. When they still managed to get food, the poor who did not have kitchens in their homes could take them to a bakery to cook in the ovens. The interiors of the thermopoliums were different, just as modern restaurants do not resemble each other. Some of them looked more refined and had dining rooms, often decorated with various elements on the walls and ceilings, but for the most part the concept has always focused on selling food for consumption outside the restaurant. In the fast food restaurants in ancient Rome, countertops were usually built with several large built-in terracotta vessels in which ready meals or wine were kept warm. The store's countertops were embedded with jars known as dolia. These stored dried and cold foods that could be distributed to customers or taken out and heated up. Hot food was served to customers in small clay bowls. Similar to the thermopolium was the kaupona, which served similar food and had similar settings, with the difference that there were also rooms for sleeping if needed. Lentils, meat, cheese, and the type of warm spice wine called kalida were all staples. Fish sauce, known as garum, and nuts also may have been handy snacks to eat on the go. You could also find there baked cheese slathered with honey. Like modern-day fast food restaurants, thermopolia were everywhere. Only in Pompeii, with a population of 12,000 people within its borders at the time of its destruction, there had been 150 thermopolia. The sheer number of restaurants reflects a major demand for convenient eateries, especially in the cities. Eating in simply wasn't an option for most poor or apartment-dwelling Romans, who usually lacked kitchens. Wealthy Romans largely criticized the establishment, but that didn't stop some rich people from dropping in for a bite to eat every once in a while. Fast food restaurants of this type usually enjoyed a bad reputation because they often served as gathering places for all sorts of gamblers and alcoholics. Roman playwright Plautus wrote that he often encountered thieves drinking in the thermopolia and also dismissed thermopolia as a gathering spot for lowly Greeks. The bad reputation led to the fact that during the reign of Emperor Claudius, many such establishments were closed due to the accumulated dissatisfaction in public opinion. After all, the Romans, who did not consider the Thermopoliums a sufficiently sophisticated place to drink a cup of tea or simply wanted special service and food, chose tavern. In a taberna, visitors could have a business conversation, find shelter for the night, and of course eat cooked food and fresh bread accompanied by plenty of wine. A taberna was a type of shop or stall in ancient Rome. Originally meaning a single-room shop for the sale of goods and services, tabernae were often incorporated into domestic dwellings on the ground level with one side open to the street. As the Roman Empire became more prosperous, tabernae were established within great indoor markets and were often covered by a barrel wall. Each taberna within a market had a window above it to let light into a wooden attic for storage and had a wide doorway. Taberna was a retail unit within the Roman Empire and was where many economic activities and many service industries were provided, including the sale of cooked food, wine and bread. They were also used as a way station or hotel on roads between towns where genteel travelers needed to stay in something better than caupone, and when the official mansio was not open to them. As the Roman Empire grew, so did its tabernae, becoming more luxurious and acquiring good or bad reputations. The class of people who ran the tabernae were called tabernari, often urban freedmen who worked under a patron who owned the property. Tabernae were located so that they fulfilled the purpose of providing goods and services to customers. Many social, economic and other factors may have had influence on this, but in general it must be assumed that retailers in Roman Britain wished to sell their product. A good site will have helped to maximize a retailer's net selling potential, and for this reason tabernae will normally be located within reach of their markets. Among the different types of cabernet were taberna caseria, cheese factory, taberna libraria, bookshop, taberna carbonaria, carqual shop, and taberna vinaria, wine shop. Tabernae revolutionized the Roman economy because they were the first permanent retail structures within cities, which signified persistent growth and expansion within the economy. Tabernae provided places for a variety of agricultural and industrial products to be sold like wheat, bread, wine, jewelry, and other items. It is likely that tabernae were also the structures where free grain would be distributed to the public. Moreover, tabernae were used as lucrative measures to gain upward social mobility for the freedman class. Although the occupation of a merchant was not highly regarded in the Roman culture, it still pervaded the freedman class as means to establish financial stability and eventually some influence within local governments. La Popina was an ancient Roman wine bar offering a limited range of simple dishes, olives, bread and stews, and a range of wines of varying quality. Popinae were a type of wine bar usually frequented by the lower class and slaves, furnished simply with stools and tables. They provided food, drink, sexual activities and gambling. Because they were associated with gambling and prostitution, popinae were considered places of crime and violence by respected Romans. Although playing dice was illegal, it seems from the large number of dice found in Pompeii that most people ignored this law. Several murals in the Pompeian Popinae depict men throwing dice from a dice shaker. Prostitutes frequented Popinae, but since many of these wine bars found in Pompeii did not have rooms with a bed, they had to meet their customers in these bars and then take them elsewhere. The Popina differed from the Roman Caupona in that it did not provide overnight accommodation. The Popina usually faced the street and was separated by a wide door. An L-shaped or U-shaped service counter would be located in the main room where workers were likely to serve food and drinks to customers. Often a small water heater was inserted into the counter or placed nearby. Some popinae would also have water basins built into the counter. Thermopolia was the forerunner and similar to today's restaurants serving modern fast food. They can be compared to a cross between a hamburger fast food restaurant and an English pub. Accessible directly from the road, ordinary Romans were served a variety of foods and drinks. Significantly, excavations of entire blocks of the Pompeii neighborhood have revealed an unusual lack of kitchenware and formal dining areas or kitchens in homes. For example, archaeologists have found isolated slabs here and there, such as in dormitories, suggesting that the Romans would eat food in areas where they might also engage in other household activities. What they found in the houses was several mini barbecue-type fireboxes, which suggests that barbecue or fondue-style dining have often taken place. This may conclude that the majority of the Pompeii population has consumed foods on the run. Historians often extend findings from Pompeii to other parts of Italy, particularly Rome, given the former's proximity to the Eternal City. Indeed, the numerous fast food restaurants identified in Pompeii are mirrored in other parts of Italy and across the Roman Empire. It seems therefore that most Romans, living in apartment blocks or in rather confined spaces, lacked the room for stoves and other cooking equipment. It makes eminent sense therefore to use smaller brazier-style cookers, as this would not require large quantities of fuel to be carried up several flights of steps. Smaller cookers also mitigated the risk of fire, which after the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD remained a major concern in densely packed urban centers. What do you think? Which of these facts surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoy our ancient cuisine content, then check out our next video for ancient Egyptian food right here. Thank you for watching.